folks, Ariel over here at Finance. If you're seeing this video on Odyssey or any other platform, you probably know about this issue. You may be curious more about the resolution. If you're on YouTube, you may have just become aware of it yesterday for the first time. Anyway, the only reason you are seeing this again on YouTube, if that's where you are watching, is because I was finally able to get access back to the channel there. The reason there was no videos for just over a month was that I was completely locked out of all Google stuff. So I want to just go over a little bit of how that happened from what I know, how I got back in, and some things that you might want to be aware of, either if you're another content creator or it looks like there's potential for the same kind of thing to happen, even if you're somebody who just uses free services like Gmail and such. Some things maybe to be aware of so that you don't end up in the position I was just in. So anyway, if you're not familiar, because I've realized that a lot of people aren't aware of this, Google, whose parent company is Alphabet, owns a whole lot of things. They own companies like Gmail, Blogspot, YouTube, and many, many other things. Those, however, are three services I've used for a long time. I've actually used YouTube since before they were owned by Google. I clearly remember the day when I got an email saying, oh, your old login to YouTube doesn't exist anymore. Now it's the same as your Gmail login. And they were an email service I've used for many years. I've mostly migrated away from using them for email now to Proton Mail, because I find for a lot of the reasons that'll be discussed here that having somebody where you're actually a paying customer and there's some customer service is a useful thing in life. Hi, baby. I love you. I do. And Blogspot, also where the Finance blog is currently hosted, happens to also be currently controlled by Google. I'm not sure if that was when I very first set up the blog. I wasn't aware of it. Wasn't aware of a lot of this stuff at that point, and the blog will probably be in a new home before too long, but I don't have those details finalized yet. Anyway, so what happened is one evening I just uploaded the last video you guys had seen like a month ago about some of the finances stuff with Tiny House, or actually it was uploading, and I was doing some other work, and logged out of a whole bunch of things as part of clearing out cookies and making space on my laptop to continue working, because video editing takes up a good bit of computer power, and it kind of taxes my little laptop, and so I try to keep its brains free to do that, and went to log back into the few things that I use regularly, and one of them being the Google account, which controls access to YouTube, and they said, something is suspicious about your activity. We need to text you a, this is after I'd entered my correct username and my correct password. No errors. I use password manager. There's not even a chance of a typo there. We need to text something to this phone number to confirm your identity. Now, the phone number they had on file is one that did used to be mine. I have no recollection of ever having added it to the account. If you're in one of those places in the country or the world where there is just consistent cell phone service all the time, this may seem crazy to you, but I have for my entire adult life lived in places where there is very spotty or limited or sometimes no cell phone service. So anything that requires a cell phone is not something I ever rely on, ever, for anything in my life, because if you could talk to any of my friends or family that I keep in touch with via actual phone calls and ask how many times calls get interrupted and dropped in a single conversation, it's pretty crazy. So there was this problem which seems to have come about because they turned on requiring two-factor authentication to every YouTube channel account. Apparently a notice went out earlier in the summer about this. I do not think I ever got it. I read those notices with some care, and as I worked over a month to resolve this, I went through every single notice that had been put out of information you should be aware of, and every other one, the changes to the user agreement, the update to their policy on animal cruelty, the changes that said that they can, put ads on and monetize any video, whether you want them to or not, or you're choosing to monetize the channel or not. Every other update I was aware of and had read, but I never saw this one. And something, it seems, was broken down in their system. And just to clarify, to the best of my knowledge, I was not locked out because Google decided the tiny house channel is bad and we don't like it and we are deleting it or banning it. Now that, of course, could happen anytime, as it has to many, many people, whether on purpose or accidentally, but that doesn't seem to be what's going on here. This seems to be like it was an internal computer glitch in their system, best I can tell. So that phone number that they wanted to text code to verify that I was me, despite the fact that I was still sitting in my same chair on the same laptop I've used for 6 years, using the same internet connection that I've used for a long time, something about their algorithm decided the activity was suspicious and I couldn't get back into the account until I got a code text to that phone number. Now that phone has not existed for at least 8 months now, and when I changed phone numbers, which that was another whole story due to phone companies dropping the service I've used ever since I was 17 and got a cell phone. So I had to do some phone changing and they lost a number in the process. Anyway, I'd gone through and updated my phone number on everything I use a phone for, and I was not aware at all of having ever used any phone number for anything to do with any of Google's services. So that phone number didn't exist. I therefore could not get a code at it, and therefore I could not get back into the account. Pretty quickly that first night, as I was looking for solutions for this, I realized that this was a pretty big deal and quite possibly going to be impossible. And so if you want to run down the things I tried, yes, I called the old phone number several hundred times, just in case anybody had been reassigned it and I could beg and plead with them to please give me the code that's getting text to it so that I could get back into my account. Nobody has the number, it's listed as not in service. Then I spent probably nearly 20 hours on phone calls and chats to phone company representatives at 4 different phone companies, which were actually super helpful, which I have to admit hasn't normally been my experience with a lot of phone company customer service. But across all 4 companies, they were all very understanding, did their best to be helpful, even though this is not their problem at all, because I was trying to see if I could possibly reactivate that phone line in my name on any device. I bought a new phone just to try it on, bought new plans, worked with customer service reps. Quite a few of them initially thought that that was possible and they could maybe make it happen. Finally concluded that it wasn't after spending hours and hours and hours on that. And so that apparently was a no-go, and the best explanation I can get was that was because the phone number was only ever in service on a 3G phone, which is all I've ever had. And if you've used 3G services for most of your life, like me, you're probably aware phone companies are all dropping them as of last month or this month. And that means that my phone service is exponentially worse than it was a month ago because I've never lived anywhere there was any other coverage. Anyway, that's another topic. So I tried getting a code through somebody who currently had the phone. That wasn't possible. Nobody currently had it. Tried getting the phone number reactivated and assigned to me so I could get one single text through on it. That apparently was not possible. Tried contacting, a lot of people are naive and think there's just like Google customer service that you could call or chat with. There is no such thing. There's, an account recovery options page you can click through on their help site. It sent me in the same circle no matter what options I tried, of username, which I have correct, I've never lost, password, which is correct, I have never lost it, and then wanting the code text to that phone. And when I said try another way, it simply said, go find your phone and we'll text the code to it. There was no other way. When it said, submit a recovery request or something to Google, this can take 2 to 5 days due to security, I would click that and I would get an instant, we cannot verify that this account belongs to you, and that was a dead end. The next thing I tried was if you have Google One storage, which I actually do, not because I use it for my own personal storage. I have physical backups of all my photos and videos that I store here at my house, and I actually have a duplicate copy I stored at another friend's house just in case this house should ever burn down. But I do pay for some of that because it backs up some of the stuff on the blog and just makes things work correctly. There is supposed to be a support option through there where that is a paid service. What I found was you cannot access it unless you are logged into your account, And of course, my whole problem being that I can't log into the account, I could not access that. In the meantime, I already had a recovery email set up. I'd done that quite a few years ago when they recommended that. And there used to be a thing where if you got, logged out or they thought something was weird, they would send a message to your recovery one that says, hey, we saw this activity, this seems suspicious, is this you? Click yes or no. Apparently that, at least on some accounts, is not an option anymore. They no longer send that. What I instead got was just a message every time I tried, over a month, to the recovery email saying, somebody using your password has tried to log into your account, and so we have blocked them. I wanted to be like, me, guys, me. That is me using my password on my same device, which is supposed to be one of the things they say is helpful if you're trying to log back in. Use a device that you have used before. Well, I'm using the same laptop. That's the only one I own that I've used for 6 consecutive years. Use it in a location that is familiar. I tried it from both this location and where the tiny house used to live. The only 2 places I've ever used it in my life. No luck there. And that's just a dead end. So back to the Google One support. So I ended up buying a second Google One storage account for my recovery email account so that I could actually contact them, because that's a whole separate account. I was able to log into that one and get those messages like, we've blocked your attempts to log into your main account. And I contacted a customer service representative through that, went through and explained everything I've tried and what was going on, and just got the repeated assurance from that individual that there's nothing they can do. No one at Google can recover an account for your security and privacy. They cannot verify anything on your account. I was offering to turn on the live webcam and show them a picture of my face, since my face is literally all over the blog and YouTube channel and has been for years. I offered to tell them details about videos that are unlisted or private inside the channel, which nobody but me in the world knows. Offered that they could verify that the credit card I had just purchased that storage account with was the same card number and billed to the same physical address as the card that has been paying for the Google One storage on the other account for quite a few years. Everything else I could think of, and the only response I got was, for your privacy and security, we cannot verify ownership of an account. Sorry, you're out of luck. You can try creating a new account. So obviously I could create a new account. I would have to re-upload 660 something videos now, and none of you would be subscribed there. So it would take a lot of time and effort and energy. So at that point I figured I had, and I actually asked to speak to that person's manager to see if I could get any kind of different answer. I got the same kind of canned response from that manager a day later that, for your privacy and security, we cannot verify ownership of an account. So that seemed like a dead end. At that point, I didn't know what else to try, so I put out on social media that I use, like MeWe and Float, asking if anybody there had any suggestions, and wrote an email to the email sign-up list that I've had for quite a few years, and some of you guys are on. If you want to get on that, go to the blog that is linked right under here, and on the right-hand side, there's a little, near the top, there's a little sign-up for email updates button. Email those folks and explain what's going on. This is why you aren't seeing blog posts. This is why you aren't seeing new videos on the channel, because I'm not able to get in and access any of that. I also tried to go and comment on, from my backup account, to comment on my normal account where you're seeing this on several of the recent videos to explain what was happening. I did a video covering this, uploaded it to that backup account. If you guys found that one about being locked out, it's the only video there. That backup channel is not used for anything else. Tried to direct people there to explain what was going on, and when you add any link to a comment, apparently YouTube doesn't like that. They deleted every single one. Several of you subscribers tried to help let people know by sharing information with them as well. Every one of those comments was deleted and blocked. So that all got nowhere. The only reason that you are seeing this on YouTube right now is thanks to the wonderful coincidental blessing that somebody in this group who has been a longtime subscriber of this channel and who actually lives relatively close to me physically, saw my appeal that went out through that email list, and they have a close family member who is very highly placed at Google, and they contacted them and asked them to fix this on the inside, which did eventually happen. Had that not happened, and had I not had the ability to and this was not somebody I knew previously, and I want to thank them very, very, very much for making that happen. Had I not had a contact that could make that happen from high up inside Google, I don't believe that I would have ever gotten access back to that email account, posting on the blog, or sharing any videos here on the channel. So if you are a fellow creator, that's something you probably want to be aware of, that this could happen. And like I said, as far as I can tell, this is simply a computer glitch. They're turning on two-factor authentication when I logged back in. Then I got a screen that said, you need to turn this on to access your YouTube channel. And so I did, and I gave them a correct phone number, and even then it wouldn't let me back into the channel for another week, because it's still, for the next week, for security, would only text the non-existent phone, not the one that they actually had. But before that happened, none of that came up. Like I said, I never got a notice that they were requiring two-factor authentication to be turned on. And even had that happened, it should have just, had I decided to never turn two-factor authentication, where they not only need your password and username, but send a message to your phone, had I decided to never turn that on, that should have just blocked me out of the channel, but not locked me out of access to email and such. So something broke in the way it was supposed to work on their end. I don't know how that happened. There's actually still one or two pieces that aren't working correct. There's still a couple things in there that somehow I can't change, because when I go to do them, it's still texting that non-existent phone for a code, where for 90% of the things in the account, I'm now able to do it, and the phone number is updated, and I don't understand that. But these kind of things can happen, whether a channel or account is shut down on purpose or accidentally. And as near as I can tell, this was accidentally. But it happened, and it meant that none of you guys knew where I was. I couldn't contact you in any way. When I tried to make comments explaining where I was, they got deleted. I couldn't share a post from the blog so that you could find it there. None of that. So thankfully, I already had backups, because had that one individual not been in this audience and helped out the channel, you would not be seeing this. Thankfully, I did have physical backups of my own videos, so I could have re-uploaded the whole channel from scratch and redone 8 years of work on a whole new channel. Thankfully, I already had backups on Odyssey.com. I know some of you guys have had issues with streaming on Odyssey. YouTube had issues while it was growing too. It's getting better over time, and I believe on the more recent videos, I have figured out a better way to compress the video to make it stream better. It seems to be working better for most folks. So even if that's not where you guys usually find this content, it might be worth going and subscribing over there, so you know where to find me if I vanish from here. Or if you're already seeing this video on Odyssey, thanks for being subscribed there. And if you are a channel owner, or there's a channel owner you very much enjoy their work, I would highly encourage them to back up their whole channel on Odyssey.com. I'll link to mine down below. It's odyssee.com, and there's a pretty simple, if you're a channel owner, there's a pretty simple way that takes like 5 minutes to click through and set up, so that it automatically backs up all of your content and all future stuff you make, because if something like this happens, it would be nice if it wasn't all vaporized in an instant. So I highly recommend doing that. The only limitations I know of are that it doesn't work right if you only have a couple videos, like if you just started your channel yesterday. But if it's an existing one that's been going for a while and there's a bunch of content, there's a way to back that all up, and it's very, very simple. It takes very little work. So this is something to be aware of if you're using these big corporation-controlled services. Most of their things are run by algorithms, and there's no way to access it. There's no customer support. There is no way to call somebody. There's no way to chat with somebody. There's no, and in my searching over that month of being locked out for if anybody had any tips, I found many, many other creators and many, many other folks who weren't YouTube creators but just used Gmail or something like that, who have been permanently locked out, some for years, and never ever got back in. And I could have very, very easily been in that situation. So that is definitely something to be aware of. And now that I have gotten back in, and something else to be aware of that I was not, with the advent of two-factor authentication, even if you have recovery email set up like you've had for years, like I did, and security questions and stuff to verify account ownership and so on, apparently Google does not use any of those anymore. The only thing it'll do is text to phone. I don't know how that's going to affect this channel long-term, because there are times I would physically have to leave where I live and go drive to somewhere to get cell phone service to that phone to be able to get a code to go back to doing what I was trying to do. So that could potentially become a big deal for me, and possibly for if any of you others are in, rural and mountain areas where cell phone service is non-existent or spotty. But there's supposed to be a way to set up channel administrators and other owners. That's one of the things that's still glitching. It won't let me do anything of the kind without confirming a code text to that non-existent phone. So I don't know if I'll ever get that set up, but if you do have that option, it might be wise to set up, even if it's just you, set up another account or two that also has access to the channel in case you get locked out of one account. And there's apparently a way to print off physical recovery codes in case you got locked out. And again, this is what makes me think something was just broken in the computer, because I was not able to do any of this before. It wasn't even an option. I would click on it, it would just say you can't do that, your account can't do that, but you can't get in without doing that. So something was just messed up in the internal workings of the system there. But again, if you have that option, it's probably wise to do. And then know, if you're going to change your phone number for any reason, you lost a phone, you moved, you had to switch cell phone companies, anything like that, there is the very, very first thing you're going to want to do if you want access to your Google account is go change the phone number in there. And even then, if you have a YouTube channel, when you change the number, it seems to keep you locked out for the next week until that new phone number has been, if you need to re-log in on anything, it won't let you do it for the next week until that new phone number has been there for more than a week. It will only text codes to the non-existent one, or the old one. And if the old one is actually non-existent, like lost or stolen or broken or out of service, then you will be, locked out of your channel for a week, which I don't know how that's beneficial, but that seems to be the way it's currently set up. So if you're another creator, that's something else to be aware of, so that you don't end up in this position as well. And yeah, that's basically my experience. I wouldn't be talking to, if you're seeing this on YouTube, I would not be talking to you through this medium today if it wasn't for somebody outside of myself doing something. I don't believe there's anything else I could have done or tried or worked with or attempted that would have fixed this issue. And other suggestions were drive to California and actually show up at Google's headquarters. That's something I may have considered doing if I had remained locked out long enough. It would have had to wait till spring. I can't leave for that long of a drive here with, animals that need water changed and such at this time of year due to things freezing up. So that simply wasn't an option to attempt at this point. And the other thing, make sure you want to set up I think of it as like a dead account, but an inactive account manager, where if you don't log into your account or do anything on the account for a certain number of months, and you can set that, I think the shortest you can set it is 3 months. And I already had this set up before I got locked out too. If there's no activity on the account for that many months, it will transfer ownership of the account to somebody else. And I'd already set it up where if something happened to me, like I died, the entire account would transfer to my husband Clay, but it wouldn't do so for 3 months. So I may have eventually got access back, because I happen to have access to his accounts because we're married to each other. I may have eventually, in 3 months, been able to get access back in through that. I'm not sure, but that's something you probably definitely want to set up. If that's an option. And if you're not a channel owner and you don't create videos and you don't ever care about that, just a heads up in case you miss the notices that the two-factor authentication has been turned on mandatorily for people who share videos. Apparently that's something like 2 million accounts. I don't believe it was set to work the way it worked for me, where it just locked me out and wouldn't let me even turn it on. But in case that happens, there also, it looks like there's plans to at some point mandatorily turn that on for all, I think it's something like 150 million free Gmail accounts. So if you get emails and messages and have contacts and stuff in Gmail that you care about and that are important to your daily life, because email is, how a lot of us communicate. In a lot of the places we have the only contact info stored for people and such. Before that happens, you probably either want to make sure you have these backup options set up and or have moved or transferred information and contacts you care about either to some other source that you physically control or to another email program like Proton Mail, or there are quite a few out there. That's just the one I'm using. But just something to be aware of. If you're not a channel owner, the same kind of thing may happen to you just with your email access. And for some people, that would be a very, very huge deal. I know if they suddenly, lost indefinitely access to all of their emails. So that's something else to be aware. So that's my experiences. That's why there was no videos on this channel for a month. I believe I'm back, at least until something else glitches or the channel gets deleted on purpose or something like that. And I just wanted to share that, so hopefully that's helpful and maybe saves somebody else from going through what I just went through and all that effort and headache and lost money and spent money and time and whatever to try to get back in. And yes, Google, it sure would be nice if I think there are a lot of creators who'd be happy to do a paid creator account with actual account support, but that doesn't seem to be an option that currently exists. And yeah, if you want to find this channel and what I'm doing, even if something glitches within Google again, go sign up on the for the email list, which is linked down below. I only send emails when there's like some emergency like this, or if you want, you can sign up to get a alert every time there's a new post on the blog. And if you like using social media and seeing the pictures that I post there pretty much every day, every now and then I have a day where I'm completely slammed, but there's usually 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 or something pictures of what we're doing around here, or the weather, or the critters, or the chickens, or the kittens playing, or the sunrise, or the sunset, or something like that every day. If that's your thing, go check out the links, which are also down below for MeWe and Float, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, and that nobody else ever gets locked out of things that have become somewhat important to the functioning of a lot of daily life for a lot of people due to so many things being internet-based. And if that all goes away and I can never share another video with you guys, I'm sorry, and that will suck. But don't worry, me and Barely and Clay and his dog and the chickens and ducks, we will all still be living our very happy real-world life here on our homestead if that option entirely disappears. But as long as I can, I'd like to keep sharing info with you guys. So you have a great night. Over here at Fineth, thank you so much for watching these videos and spending some of your very valuable time choosing to do that. We hope you found something that was useful, educational, helpful, maybe save someone else some time and trouble, or just something just plain beautiful. If you don't want to miss any videos, subscribe and hit the bell. And thanks for coming along on our journey as we build a new little homestead with our tiny house and everything to come.